It's Tuesday, May 21st. This is an end of the day SPY recap, and today on the daily chart, technically we have kind of a two down green day. It barely took out the low of the previous day and closed green. I'm calling this kind of a trading range in here. If you look at this bar here from last week and the low here, and then this, we went up to the top, came down, then today we started near the bottom, came up. So now for 4 days, we're kind of setting up a range. If I go to the 15-minute chart and zoom it out, you can see that range kind of unfolding here for the last 4 days. It is rising at the bottom, and a lot of times that's just a nice pattern that eventually breaks to the upside. So, we have to see now if this is the top of the range, anything that moves up into that, does it continue strong, which it should, or could it fail and come back into the range? So that's what's really unfolding in terms of, the actionable signals that are developing. In other words, even if we come down and take out that low on a two down day, we're at the bottom of a range. We want to see if we get strong follow through. And of course, we're expecting to head higher now. We have 2 days of the week in play, and now we have, the green bar, just continuation on the green uptrend. We have the open of the week here, so we know that's a key reference point. As long as we stay above there, we're biased to the upside with intraday price action. And, there's no resistance above. So it's just a matter of when, how the daily chart kind of unfolds each day. If we keep going up and holding the midpoint of the prior day, we'll see if we get directional moves. There are certain days like today where you kind of start near the bottom of a previous range, but immediately start up. That has different implications than if you would kind of start at the midpoint and break out above that. So it's just a matter of day by day, how the daily chart, if we get a two down red day, then you'd look for a two up green day the next day for directional movement. So it's just, like I said, each day is unique. Today, if we look at the 15-minute chart, well, first of all, coming into the day, we knew we had this little shooter bar from yesterday to start the week. It was possible we were going to head lower, and I discussed how, if we did head lower, maybe we can start taking out some targets down here and turning the week red. But given the strong uptrend, you're going to look for failures or any indication that the downward movement, might not materialize too strongly. And obviously today, out of the gates, you had the pre-market range between the blue lines, and towards the open, it was moving down towards the lows of that pre-market range, towards yesterday's low. So I was prepared to definitely have a red bar and continue, a sell side and see if we maybe hit these targets. But as always, looking at the way I kind of view price action consistently day to day, we look at the opening bar, up bar, paused on bar 2, broke in on bar 3. So the market failed immediately, took out the low of the previous day, the pre-market lows, and then after 2 bars decided to head up. So I shot a video how I bought calls here. This was the first target, the intraday high, which was right at the midpoint of the prior day. So that was kind of the interesting scenario here. You had that selling tail from yesterday, and yet you were coming up right to the midpoint of that day to start. So it was a key inflection point, what was going to happen. Now, it moved up there, paused, it tried to move up on this bar, and then had a kind of a shooter bar with a downward move. So at this point, you're a little bit of conflict in the sense that, are you failing at the midpoint of the prior day and starting down, or are you going to hold the midpoint of that first bar and continue the upward move on the day? The bias was always up until you really had any kind of price action that came down strongly, was going to, get back into that first bar's range, maybe pause, and then have a move that would take out that intraday low. I'm always looking at the intraday highs and lows. At this point in the session here, when it was kind of failing, you were watching that high for the intraday high and that low. With an upward bias, both in terms of some of the bigger picture trends, the weekly chart, the monthly chart, and, the intraday structure was to the upside. So what happened was it came down, paused, made another push down just to take, and that's what happens when you're not getting directional movement with a nice strong push up, pause, second push up. You've seen a lot of those before. A lot of that time, if you're, in an upward mode, you're looking for liquidity to be taken out, either internal liquidity or something else that's on the chart. In this case, it came down, it kind of had its little push up here. That set up kind of a stop right here. Anyone who bought early probably trailed stops right here. Then the market came down, took out that liquidity, had the green reversal, and frankly, that was probably a good buy signal, a secondary buy to take out the highs of the day. Then you had the orderly pause, and then the next push up. So it was always up bias all day long. This one took out internal liquidity. and hit the high of the day, and then you watch this orderly pullback. There was another green move that took out the next high of the day. If you were just kind of looking for some type of trade to take, it was the only way to look at it. So buys right from the start here, hit its target. This was a liquidity play. Once you saw you weren't getting momentum, and you were at a key inflection point, as I described in one of my videos, and then it was an upward move all day, and you're kind of you're in the up mode, just given that you're above the open of the week, which was yesterday's open, and you're moving up structurally all day. So now we just kind of see what happens if we hold the midpoint of this bar today. We're expecting higher. We'll see if we get how the opening price action unfolds relative to the pre-market range. That'll determine if we get a strong directional day, or maybe who knows, if we come up here and come back to the midpoint of this bar, we could be failing, and maybe we get through the open of the week and turn the weekly chart red with 2 days to go. We're in this trading range, so I want to see any move up if we're going to break out of these 4 days to the upside. And I'm not anticipating down, but anything's possible now that we have the open here, as long as if we get below there, then maybe the weekly chart turns red a little bit, and we could have a weekly failure on any move below the open because we took out the high the previous week, and we'll see if we get through the midpoint of that week should something really happen negative on the downside. I guess Nvidia has earnings tomorrow. That's going to affect things. So anyway, that's today's price action. Good buying opportunities today, just given the way price led you to continuing the uptrend that's in place, and we'll just have to see what happens for the rest of the week.